What is up, you guys? Stephen Milhausen here. Welcome to Fight Club. It is Tuesday, December the 3rd, 2024. Got a lot of videos coming out with Raquel Rodriguez, Mad Hardy, and just a great conversation with the virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo, and also TNA star Steve Macklin is coming up. But wanted to really kind of just drop this in, and you could see the scroll here at the bottom. And I usually don't do these, but I'm going to do more of these because I think this has been a really hot take going on in wrestling, and I kind of want to throw it out there to you guys. And Eric Bischoff, extremely critical of W, and I want to play. We're just going to go right into it. Here is the comments that Eric Bischoff made when asked. He was on the Ariel Helwani show, which is part of Uncrowned.com, and also Yahoo Sports. Ariel Helwani asks Eric Bischoff about All Elite Wrestling. Okay. Eric just came out gunning. I will say Eric has been, how do I, very critical of AEW in the past. I'm not saying AEW is guilty. I have no skin in the game. Let's play this back one more time. Horrible. Come on. How are they horrible? How are they horrible? Okay, we could say, yeah, AEW is not our cup of tea. Sure. We can make AEW doesn't have to be everyone's cup of tea. And I get it. It's not, the storytelling is a little lacking. Even though I think the storytelling has gotten better. Yeah, there's still gaping holes. Sure. And there's no ifs, there's no ands, and there's no buts about it. It's you can make the point is valid, and the point is not wrong. But to say there's no hope, they're horrible. I think that's a little rich. Of course, I think it's wrong. I think it comes from a very bitter place, and I like Eric. And I did an interview with Deonna Purrazzo, and because I asked her this question, it's a little rich of Eric to say, considering what happened in WCW, what happened with TNA, and as much as Eric, I'm going to balance this right. I think the comment is rich considering how he ran WCW into the ground, and he always thought Hulk Hogan was always going to be the solution. The failure to create new stars. That's horrible to say when you weren't listening and you had the keys to the kingdom and you could have made a positive difference and you chose not to. When the Titanic was sinking, you continued to help make it sink instead of getting out the life preservers and trying to make the company better. And you can sit here and you can blame Time Warner, you could blame the merger with AOL, but you were still in charge. You still had the keys to the kingdom. You could say burnt out, whatever. Then you should have just quit. Plain and simple, in the story, you should have quit. I'm going to continue and air a little more of what Eric Bischoff said about All Elite Wrestling. And that kind of really goes into the argument I just made. He had great opportunity. And it worked for the longest. It worked 95. You can even say, I think to me, WCW started the end of 95, the Flair Savage program. You give Savage the title, and that really started to make a difference for them. And you see to where they got. And it led to that sustained success in 96, 97, 98. And I even think most of 99, I think, was pretty good. Yeah, they lost a little bit of money, but they were still selling. They were generating good houses. But you could see in the fall of 99, you could see it coming off the cliff. It was coming off the cliff even in the beginning of 99. But they were still drawing big houses. They were making a lot of money. They were still generating. They were doing moderately well for the time on pay-per-view. He did the same thing. So people say, oh, well, he's learning from experience. I take it. I listen to his podcast, 83 Weeks, and I think it's a great podcast. Go listen. Encourage it. It's rich. Eric wasted a lot of good opportunity as well. And Eric doesn't always accept responsibility enough. He blames others instead of blaming himself. The leader should always get blamed. 100%. For what's going on with AEW right now, you got to blame Tony Khan. That is more than fair. But Eric doesn't blame himself enough. Instead of saying, hey, I had this one great idea, I did not know what to do after that. Don't blame Sullivan. Don't blame Flair. You can't even blame Hulk Hogan. He's got to blame himself. Fans I know in media want to blame Hogan, they want to blame Hall and Nash, and they want to blame everybody, Luger. No, the buck stopped with Eric Bischoff. When Bischoff left, the buck went to Vince Russo, and then went to the higher ups, Harvey Schiller, Bill Bush, and then went back to Bischoff. You have to accountability. When you don't have accountability, it's hard to really take your word for what it is. And sorry, Eric, you had to take a little bit of responsibility, and you didn't. And that's terrible. Let's play a little more. Stop there. Eric's full of crap. Eric vents about it every week. That's how he makes his money. Let's just be honest. That is how he makes his goddamn money. Let's be honest. Let's be realistic. That is how he makes his fucking money. Is bashing all Elite Wrestling in any way, shape, or form. There's not many times where I'm listening to 83 Weeks where I'm like, oh, wow. Eric will, sorry, give a fleeting comment and then in the rip mode. Not consistent. He does it for, you could say, clicks or numbers or views. I truly don't think Eric cares. I think Eric is about making money. Period. Story. Controversial takes. Does he really believe it? I don't know. I'm trying to talk to Eric Bischoff. He's doing him in this interview he did with Ariel Helwani for Uncrowned Yahoo Sports. Is to promote MLW's One Shot coming up this weekend out in Queens, New York. I'm trying to get Eric because there's a lot I want to follow up with. Because I think, being honest, I don't know. And that's a question I'm going to ask you. Do you truly believe everything you're saying when you're talking about AEW? Do you truly believe it? I'm not so sure. Now, let's be honest. Eric had no clue what he was doing either. He was told to cut costs when he got the World Championship Wrestling. Let's just be blunt. He didn't know a wrist lock from a wrist watch. But the one thing Eric did is Eric learned. He talked. He talked to Ric Flair. He would talk to Kevin Sullivan. He made inroads going to shows around the country, going to Japan, seeing what when it was New Japan UWFI, and learning how the NWO idea came into manifestation. There's no hope. People thought there was no hope for WCW. Look at what WCW did. For 96, 97, beginning of 98. So you're look at it. 2 full years. You're looking at, let's see, 20. I'll be kind. I will say nearly 3 years. 2.5, 2 for 28 months, WCW was the kings of wrestling. And then we're neck and neck with WWE for the remainder of 1998 and the beginning for the last 8 months of 2020 of 1998, and then for the first, I would honestly say, like 3 months of 1999, and then the WWE just put boots to asses and off they went. There's hope. That's where I don't agree with Eric. There is hope. Tony Khan needs help. Obviously, Tony Khan's vision isn't resonating with more of the mainstream, more of the casual fan base. But that's on Tony Khan to make sure he brings in the right people. Can Tony Khan do it? Yes. Will he do it? Is the $64,000 question. Do I have faith? I have faith. Much? What people think. Because I think it helps pro wrestling. Tony Khan is a wrestling fan. But Tony Khan's also got to be a businessman. Will he do that? I don't know. I hope for the sake of his life that he does. Because if he doesn't, the Titanic is going to go down, and it's going to go down sinking in terms of all elite wrestling. I don't think it will. There's enough smart people there that won't allow that to happen. But I think Tony Khan needs more people, needs more no men than he does need yes men. I'm not going to sit here and bash Will Washington or going to bash anyone else in creative. Because at the end of the day, the buck stops at Tony Khan. Period. End of story. Tony can say no. And it's up to Tony if he is willing to do that. But there is hope. There is a light bulb. That light bulb is on. Is it flickering? Sure. People had the lights off when it came to WCW. Give Eric credit. He got that light on. And he kept it on. His unwillingness to listen had that light flickering to the point where it went off and they went out of business. And he was a cog in that. He was a part of that. Whether he ever will admit that or not, that's for another day. And then it will be a question I have for Eric Bischoff. Let's continue. Okay. Kind of where I was at before. I should let it go a little bit. They do tell a story. Maybe it's not Eric's cup of tea. AEW is an acquired taste. I'm not saying it's but just to come out and blanketly say that, that's fucking wrong. Wrong. Come on. He should know that better than anybody. Shame on you, Eric Bischoff. Shame, shame, shame. Good follow up by Ariel Helwani when he goes, why not? Because that's a legitimate question. Okay, you're saying this. Why do you feel this way? That's where I feel Conrad Thompson doesn't press him enough when he goes into that all bashing mode. All elite wrestling. I get it. Views, downloads, money. It's wrong. There's a reason I stopped right there. No one's comparing Tony Khan to William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was a once in a generational writer, storyteller. No one's ever going to make Vince McMahon to be Shakespeare. Vince Russo, Eric Bischoff, Paul Levesque, Shawn Michaels, Tommy Dreamer, the great people at TNA, Court Bauer at MLW, Gedo from New Japan. No one's comparing. To reach that level would be once in a lifetime writer in terms of telling stories. But then Eric goes back to his crutch of bashing Dave Meltzer. Now, I am an acquaintance of Dave. I respect Dave. I haven't seen Dave in a very long time, but I've had good conversations with Dave Meltzer. And Dave Meltzer knows more about wrestling than what has exited his brain. Dave Meltzer has been in this business for 50 years. He's the reason why I'm here. He is the reason all of us are here. The Ariel Helwanis and everyone else of the world. Now, Eric says this about Dave, and that's why I stopped listening to his podcast for so long, because it was so annoying and turning off. It's like, okay, dude, we already know you hate him. Why do we got to keep going? And the fact that it's always enabled and makes it go on is, I think, a huge flaw of Conrad Thompson. But that's for another time. But then hearing Ariel Helwani chuckle. Now, I had gone back and forth about tweeting this. I saw the clip this morning, and it really upset me because this gig is hard enough. And Ariel Helwani going into business for much, God bless him. I mean, went into business for himself, and look what he's made it. But you also are a journalist. You pride yourself on being a journalist and cackling when Dave Meltzer's name is brought up and says, oh, Dave says there's plenty of stories in AEW. I have a problem with that because journalists need to stick together, not go sit and bash everybody else and get chuckles. And who cares? We're all allowed to have different opinions. Absolutely. My opinions are different from Ariel Helwani's, Dave Meltzer's, and their opinions are different than mine. Sean Ross said, what? But the fact we're going to cackle? Come on. You're better than Ariel. You're better than Dave Meltzer helped Ariel Helwani a lot and has been a big resource for Ariel. And I know that for a fact. Ariel has said it, and Dave has told me, and Ariel's told me how much of an influence Dave Meltzer has been on him in the past. So I'm shame on you, Ariel Helwani. Shame, shame, shame. Disgraceful, if I'm going to be quite honest. That's why people like all the wrestling. That's why I like it. That's why the majority of them like it. It's always marketed as the alternative. That's people athletic matches and just having matches. Should there be stories? Sure, that's how you reel more people in to view that. And that should be tell great stories, tell stories so people can watch this amazing talent. Just like with the Cruiserweight division in WCW. You had this great story with the NWO and a bunch of stories right underneath to get to the opening matches or the matches at the top of every hour. Luchadors, Cruiserweights. Guys that could have good matches, you put them there. And then that's your base, and then you got all the minutia. Then you got the big story, but then right in the middle, you get them hooked in with good matches, and then they'll stay and to watch the stories. That's how Eric Bischoff did it. He knows that because it was smart to do. And I feel like AEW is starting to get there. The stories can be better, sure, absolutely. Not every promotion tells the best stories all the time. No one bats 1,000, but you have to bat 300. If you can go 3 out of 10, that's success. I really, really feel that. This is where I agree with her. That is not viable to the masses. 100%. It's not. Never will be. It's not, it won't. It got AEW to a point to where they got this deal. But now now Tony Khan has to pivot. And you got to get better at storytelling. And the creative team got to get better than just kowtowing to Tony. You got to put your foot on the goddamn pedal once in a while. And those people know who they are. Let's see if they do it. There's a little more from Eric Bischoff. Now, that's where I agree. It took Eric a while to get to that. That video was like almost 3 minutes. He's not wrong. But that's why I feel like they're getting better. Still gaping holes, like this Death Rider story and taking over AEW. And I feel that can get better. But they're telling stories. They're getting you like the Mercedes Moné Camille story. They've been telling this story for a bit. I like it. You got me invested. I want to see Camille beat the living tar out of a Mercedes Moné. You're getting there. The Max Caster, Anthony Bowen story. Telling a good story. It's got me invested. You can tell stories. Some are good. Some are bad. Like the Learning Tree story. Not my jam. Some people like it. Some people don't. I don't feel it's good. Some people think it's great. But we should all be supportive. Because this is wrestling. Everyone's right to title to an opinion. Doesn't mean you're always right. Doesn't mean you're always wrong. But I feel like Eric does this, and I don't know if Eric will ever admit it, and that's my job is I want to ask him. Do you believe everything that is coming out of your mouth when it comes to bashing? I call it bashing. I feel like he doesn't truly believe everything that he is saying. I really don't. I could be very wrong. I hope I am because I like Eric. I've had some good wrestling conversations with Eric Bischoff. I think he's a very smart man. But in this case, beyond what he said at the end, shame on you. You know better. You've been through this experience. Provide guidance. How do you get better? Keep being consistent about it. It's okay. We know you're appearing on NXT this week. But we also know you've collected checks from Tony Khan. Did you want a job? I don't know. It's not my job to say because I don't know. I've asked, but never have gotten an answer. So, Eric, hopefully we go from the shame on you to the clap for you. Because you are a Hall of Famer. You are the architect of the NWO. Helped kill off WCW. You didn't do a lot of great things for TNA. But that bad doesn't outweigh all the good you did do with the creation of the NWO and what I felt was a very good run as the Raw GM. Don't forget, you could subscribe, give a thumbs up to this podcast. If you didn't listen, you missed the beginning, make sure, and you just kind of zoomed through, you stopped and go. This will be available on audio as well. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all your favorite podcasting platforms. Actually, I respond. Nope. Keep doing what you're doing, Tony. It may not be everyone's jam to the jelly. You keep doing what you're doing and what you feel is best for All Elite Wrestling, because for what you've done has helped AEW get the deal they just got with Warner Brothers Discovery. There's my social medias right there at SMilhausenJR, Instagram, TikTok. A lot of great stuff this week with Effie at the beginning. Effie, Matt Hardy. Going to put up clips from my interview with Raquel Rodriguez, which the full interview is with on SI Wrestling, the takedown on SI on YouTube. And I'll put that up also on the YouTube channel here as well. And that is it. Actually, Deonna Purrazzo, Steve Macklin, and a whole lot more. This is Steven Mielhausen, and I'll talk to you guys next time.